that's the downside to being a public figure.
Russo'sBrand.com, where the pros are the pros.
Brit Baker has revealed that she has pulled back from her dentist work full time.
That's crazy. That's insane to me. But go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, we've heard she's mentioned stuff like this briefly before, but now she really dove into it. Talking with DDP, she said that she's no longer working as a full-time dentist because it was a distraction to people in the office. She says it was turning into like a Comic-Con where people were coming in because you can find me. People were coming in and asking for autographs and pictures, and they'd schedule appointments, take up appointment slots. And my staff were like, whoa, we got to make money. And then there's just some scary fans, like where we had to call the cops and they were going to come and kill us.
Those are the best. Those are the best fans in the world, because they're really passionate. And, it's tough to sort them out in that fan base that AEW has in the first place. But, you've got some really good ones.
That's just a little crazy to me because, I'm sure we've all been into dentist offices. Bro, you know how much
of it, not often. But go ahead.
You know how much that equipment costs and shit out? That stuff costs tens of thousands of dollars, bro. That is such a freaking investment, man.
Yeah. I can't see how she could operate an actual dental practice and then be such a notable public figure in the wrestling business at the same time. It would be very, very difficult to juggle the two, I would imagine, because, like you said, Jeff, you just, you have people showing up, taking up appointment slots just to hang out, just to say hello, just to meet her, just to get an autograph,
But Hal, think about that for a second. If I'm her and I've got a dental practice going, first of all, bro, my sister is a dental hygienist. The years and years and years you have to go to school, the tests you have to take, I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Somebody in the Russo family are gainfully employed, but go ahead.
Okay. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So she goes through this freaking education, then invest all this money. You think, bro, when she would have, went into, especially the AEW contract, first of all, why are you using your real name? Second of all, why are you doing the dentist gimmick on television? Just come up with a character and a gimmick and do something completely different.
I agree, because I never understood why they, used that. I understand it because I know that was it was an easy go-to. Oh, you're an actual, dentist.
Right.
Okay, well, we're going to play off of that, and we're going to create this. But she has a persona, a character that has nothing to do with being a dentist.
Right.
The only reason that you still even know or aware that she is because they constantly call her Dr. Brit Baker, and they refer to the fact that she's a licensed dentist. Well, first off, if you're a licensed dentist, how good are you as a wrestler? Meaning that we're going to put over the fact that you're making an income, a living, as something other than being a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. Hold the phone. I'm throwing a red. Hold the phone.
What are you holding the phone?
Wouldn't they say the same thing about your comedy career? Wouldn't they say the same thing about your comedy career?
I'm not a full-time wrestler.
I saw the ring on the Netflix in the slow motion with the head in the ring and the whole 9 yards. Out there. Apologize to Dr. Britt Baker right now for making that analogy.
Make a point other than one underneath your hair. All right.
Unbelievable. Calling the kettle black, Al Snow, man. Then he wonders why Bread Butter Buckenstein doesn't get him any gigs. What's his name again, that guy, Jeff, that don't get him no gigs? Box Cutter. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Al. I'm sorry to interrupt. I got a little carried away.
I'm sure you're feeling terrible about that. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is they don't utilize it within, and maybe to her, it was a good thing because I'm sure probably when she first initially started with AEW, I think she had just graduated or had just gotten her doctorate in dentistry. And that, let's face it, that kind of publicity, that kind of exposure would help your practice. It would get, and it probably was a good thing at first.
Right. Right.
Brought a lot of new patients in and, kept foot traffic through the door. But now it's getting to a point where it's not as positive a thing. And of course, after however many years, it's now gotten older and a little more tedious to deal with and keep up with, and financially it's not panning out. So if they would take that away, she doesn't need to close her practice. They just need to take away the focus and stop referring to her as Dr. Brit Baker, refer to her as Brit Baker, take her in a new direction. In a short amount of time, 6 months at the most, the majority of that attention, the wrong kind of attention to her practice, would go away. It'd all just disappear because you literally psychologically shift what you're selling about her to something else. And then the audience would no longer acknowledge or even realize she was a dentist anymore. And they wouldn't go to look for her at her practice. It'd be that simple.
And now, early on, they were using that as part of her gimmick. She was trying to pull teeth and do it. And then they just went totally away from it. So at that point, what's the point?
It doesn't make any sense. And, and for her, let's face it, it'd be very unwise of her, very short-sighted, if she were to close her practice. What happens if, because AEW's already closed down Rampage.
Yeah.
Or they start closing down, other stuff. They start making, Tony Khan business-wise doesn't have a choice. They start making cuts. And she's been there for an extended period of time. And he goes, you know what? You gotta walk. Well, if she's closed her practice down now, she's got to reopen it and try to get the ball rolling again. If she keeps it open, and keeps it going, even brings in another dentist to basically in her stead, at least she's kept the doors open and kept it operational so that she always has something to fall back on income-wise. Stop calling her Dr. Brit Baker. Start calling her just Brit Baker. Take her in a whole different direction. Don't refer to or make mention anymore of her being a practicing dentist in any way or any fashion, and then the audience will very quickly forget about it, and they'll now just acknowledge and accept her for what you're trying to sell her as.
Well, Jeff, how did she put it? She was going to back off of her practice. She's not going to close her practice, obviously, but she's going to back off her practice, Jeff.
She just said she's no longer working as a dentist full time.
Yeah.
She went on to say that if they need somebody to fill in, she'll go in. So I don't think she's doing it at all regularly.
Yeah. Wow.
Based on what she said.
So much money on that education, that equipment, and all that stuff. And especially, like Al said, it being AEW. Al, if it's WWE, that's one thing. That's if you got a nice, sweet contract with WWE, I get that. But AEW, man,
What are the odds, though? She said, Tony, this is what I'm making at my dentist. If you want me to stay here, I need to make more than that.
Very possible.
She could very well. And Tony would, I'm sure, without a question or doubt, would go, okay, and, she's one of the talent that he's invested in right from the very start and put a prominent role right at the very beginning, the onset of AEW. So, he probably would continue, I would imagine. I can't see him not being willing to keep, I'm saying that in spite of the fact that no matter who comes to him and says, hey, you need to do this or else I'm going to walk, he just goes, oh, here you go. And he gets out the checkbook and just writes him a check, from what I understand.
Or on the other end of that, Jeff, she can be saying that to get the fans to back off, and maybe she's not changing anything at all.
Yeah, but again, all they have to do is just stop putting the focus on the fact.
Yeah, I agree.
Practicing dentist.
Yep.
Has a dental practice that she attends, and then the fans will if you change the focus 5-6 months from now, they won't even know it and won't care. And she'll just be Brit Baker.
I can't imagine grown adults. I mean, I put the blame on the fans here just for being lunatics for doing this, she's made herself accessible publicly by what you guys talked about, using her real name, talking about it on AEW, but still these are grown adults choosing to go interrupt the dentistry to try to get an autograph, and who knows how far they're driving for this. I mean, you would assume they're not all local people. They're probably driving hours booking fake appointments just to meet her.
Yeah, but it's That's the downside to being a public figure, is that once you're a public figure, you're a public figure. I remember when I lived in Lima, Ohio, okay? And I lived on the far east side of the town. The reason I say that is because on the west side of the town was the highway, I-75, okay? I can't tell you, and I lived in a neighborhood in a cul-de-sac, Jeff, on the far east side of town. It took at least going through, and Lima it's not big. I mean, they call it the ghetto cornfield for a reason. So, it took 20 to 25 minutes from the highway to get to my house. All right. So nobody just accidentally drove by. And I can't tell you the number of people. I'd be out in the front yard mowing the yard, and somebody pull into the cul-de-sac and whip around, and we were just driving by. We wanted to stop in and say hello. I'm like, what? And they were from, Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Maryland, a couple, one time. They were from different states of the country, and they were traveling on I-75 to go somewhere, saw the sign for my hometown, that they knew my hometown, and looked up. Even at that time, this was in the late 90s when the internet was not that, preeminent. And they found my address and then would drive all the way across town just to see if they could catch me at home. That's part and parcel. I didn't make that made it publicly aware. The only thing that was made aware was my hometown, which was Lima, Ohio, and that I still lived there. And then they would search you out. So yeah, I can believe that actual grown adults would do these things, because they do. And they don't just do it with wrestlers. They do it with all kinds of public figures and celebrities of whatever nature. They literally search people out. If you think about it, emotionally and mentally, people assume they know you. Yeah. They know you as a person because you're in their home every single week. And so they think that they've gotten to know you on a certain level. And to a point, that is part of the game, and that's what you're trying to accomplish, is because that's what makes you a draw. But at the same time, then there's the dark side of it, which is where people get to that point where they think they do know you, and they can just pull up to your house, or to, like Dr. Brit Baker's, make an appointment just so they can get an autograph. And they're not there for the autograph. If anybody doesn't understand this, then, as far as being a public figure, you're an idiot. And that when you go to a wrestling convention, a comic book convention, you go to anything and you make an appearance, they're not there to get an autograph. They're there to have a moment with you. That's what they're paying for. They're paying to have that moment, share that moment with someone they feel familiar with, and that they can have a memory. They're not there, because they get the autograph and then who knows what they do with it. Some people actually do collect them.
Hey, Al, how do you feel about the wrestlers because it happens a lot. They'll pop off about being approached at an airport.
Here's the deal. And this started back in the Attitude Era. That's where all that really started and was created. I don't mind if someone were to approach me in public and want an autograph or wanted to shake my hand and say hello. What I mind is the guys, especially up in the Northeast. Yeah, that's where it really got to be pretty bad. Yeah. Where they stake out the airport because they know that everybody's arriving at a certain time. They're coming off their flights. They're trying to get their bags, and they're trying to get to the rental car. And they're standing there, and they've got not one item, they've got multiple, and they're doing it to make money, or they're doing it, they're being predatory. That's a problem. I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. It never has upset me. If, the only time I've ever said, look, I can't, is when there's too many. And you go, I'm sorry, I'm here with my family, or I'm here to do X, Y, Z. And if I give one of you an autograph, I have to give everyone an autograph. And then it's just going to take too much time away from my family or whatever I'm actually there for. Yeah, that, but the ones that are predatorial about it, that kind of that's what the boys are complaining about.
Yeah.
But you can come up anytime you want, ask for an autograph, come talk to me, tell me you're a fan, shake my hand. Doesn't bother me at all. And,
what if they want to come up to you and tell you stink? I mean, you say, oh, they come up to me, tell me I'm a fan. What if they want to come up to you and say, I'll be honest with you, like you really stink? Is that okay?
I'll be like, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I want to set the boundaries.
I mean, legitimately, I've had a couple people like say that. I'll be like, and what do you want me to tell you?
You have not. I doubt anybody's approached you and said that. Come on.
No, one or two come up. They've because they're trying to get over, it's like they're trying to put you down, and you're not that good. And I'm go, all right, I'm not.
Well, I mean, I'm not
watching what you do for a living.
I'm not talking about the comedy club. I'm talking about wrestling. Wrestling. I'm talking about.
Listen, I'll fight your mom. I'm
all right. Jeff, what else you got for Al the day after Christmas? Jeff, go ahead.
Well, since you brought this up, I do have a quote from CM Punk a few weeks back on social media. He posted a message declaring how much he loved his fans, but then reminded them to respect boundaries and privacy. Airports are not a meet and greet. If I have to ask you to please stop following me multiple times, you have crossed the line. Stop using your children as a shield or as an excuse.
Yeah, that's the predatory practice.
But that's part of the job, though, Al. That's what you're getting into. Just like Brit Baker. If I'm going to advertise the dentist, you know what you're getting into, Al.
I agree. But there again, there's a line when it becomes not a fan, but a predator. Somebody who is stalking or laying basically in wait and has an objective. It's not about them being a fan. It is now about them pursuing and harassing. It's one thing you come up and you go, hey, I'm a really big fan. Oh, really appreciate everything. I go, great, thank you. Have a nice day. Great. Okay, man. Thanks. Good luck. We're done. Now when they continue to pursue, or they come up and they've got a stack of 8x10s, or they've got the book, and they're now aggressively pursuing you, that's predatorial. And that's where it starts to infringe on your space. That's the difference.
Al, that happened to me once at the Ale House. Unfortunately, it was Davari and he was on the roster, Al. But anyway,